Happy New Year. We're back on the official pod. Eric Allen, Leger, Douzable. We are presented by WinBet. Betting is a team sport. Bet together at WinBet. Douz, what did you think about the Jets' efforts last week and everything they had to endure before that game against Jacksonville and still coming out on top despite having 20 players in health and safety protocols and 2 coaches, including the boss, Robert Saleh?
Yeah, you talk about missing 20 players. You're talking about a gutsy young team out there scrapping and fighting, literally guys off the street playing significant roles on offense and defense. And they went out there and they got it done. Kudos to Ron Middleton. I know we'll probably talk about him a little bit later, but to be thrust into the head coaching position when all you've ever done was maybe lead just one practice at the college level, to be able to do that for the majority of the week and then go into Sunday's game, not blink. This team didn't blink and still be aggressive, right, EA? They went for it on 4th down 5 times. I don't think they've done that all year long and converted on 3 of them. So just a kudo to this team. You talk about the system that Robert, Saleh is trying to implement, the identity that he's trying to implement with this young team. You just have to give a kudos to Ron Middleton and this coaching staff, and then the players, man, to just go out there and just continue to fight and scratch and claw, especially at the end of the year. They had every right. I won't say every right, but most teams would have probably just shut it down, knowing that they were missing 20 players and pivotal starters. But they went out there, they scratched and clawed and got a victory.
I think 7 starters in all were out against the Jags. I heard after the game from numerous people that halftime environment was quite lively. A lot of tables being flipped, a lot of words being exchanged. What did you think about that? Because obviously something Middleton said got their attention because they got the job done.
Yeah, definitely. And the Jets missed on a few opportunities. That game could have been a lot more lopsided. We saw right at the end of the half them going for it on 4th down instead of kicking the field goal. And I know we'll probably talk about Brandon Staley. And we talked about it last week, the analytics of going for it on 4th down that many times. But you have to love the aggressiveness and then the togetherness of this team, right? Because I've been in that locker room. Like everything is going against you, 20-plus players missing. You said it, 7 starters. You struggled this season being able to finish and get wins at the end of the game, but they were able to get it. Now, again, it didn't look pretty all the time, and that's what happens when you have a young team. More specifically, that's what happens when you have a young team plus pivotal players not playing on your team. That game should have been a lot more lopsided, but you just love the fight at the end. And even the defense, right? I believe they had the ball like at the 2-yard line for 2 or 3 plays, and they didn't get in the end zone. So kudos to the offense, the defense, and the special teams. My God, Braxton Berrios, put him in the Pro Bowl, man. He deserves to be in.
Yeah, he's a first alternate for the
Pro
he
needs
Bowl.
to be the guy. He don't need to be a first alternate. I mean, if you look at what he's done in the return game, I believe he leads the league in return yardage on kick return, and is, I believe, top 5 in punt return. So, to me, it makes no sense that he's not in the Pro Bowl this year, and they have to do something about it.
He's just a good football player, right?
Yeah.
It's not just the kickoff returns.
He's
and the
earned
punt
some
returns.
money.
He's pitching in on offense. The Jets were decimated at receiver. If we really think about Elijah Moore being out, Corey Davis, of course, on injured reserve, no Jamison Crowder against the Jaguars.
Oh, yeah. So it's funny that you brought that up, because you want to talk about the trust factor and when a player and a coach really trust the guy. If you look at it as a whole, that last drive the Jets have, right, when they're trying to ice the game away and put the game away on a pivotal, the first 2 plays of the game, right, end around to Braxton Berrios to get the offense going. Next play, bubble screen to Braxton Berrios just to get him in space. He gets the first down. Pivotal 3rd down, right? I believe it was like 3rd and 8. He runs an in-breaking dig or slant route, gets hit by the safety, holds onto the ball. So that shows you that Zach Wilson has faith and trust in him. That shows you that Michael LaFleur has faith and trust in Braxton Berrios. This young man has earned some money this offseason. If I was the Jets, I'd try to pay him now or right at the beginning of the offseason, because if you let him get the free agency, there's going to be some suitors. I look at a guy like Kendrick Bourne, right? He's kind of that mold, a slot guy that's sure-handed. He got a nice little bag from New England, and he's now their number 1 receiver. So you don't want to lose a guy like that in free agency. So if you're Joe D, go ahead and you want to be able to bless the people that play for you in that locker room, because it shows guys that are free agents that if you do the right thing here, or if you're drafted here and you do the right thing, we're going to reward you for it and pay you. So
I think now it's 4 games of 150-plus all-purpose yards for Berrios. Let's go to the run game before we get into Zach Wilson, Trevor Lawrence. Can you talk about the offensive line and Michael Carter reaching triple digits for the first time in his career? This is one of the best draft picks at running back the Jets have had in the last 20 years, you got to say.
100%, and it sucked that he got injured because he would have been at 1,000 all-purpose yards already if he hadn't got injured. And he has a chance to do that this week. I believe he's close to 900 all-purpose yards, and I think he'll either get it this week or next week, go over the 1,000-yard mark. But I mean, what can you say about Michael Carter? When I was watching the game, I was a little upset though. Yeah, I have love for Tevin Coleman. We've talked about this plenty of time on the show. He has some juice, right? But I believe Michael Carter has proven that he can be the lead back in this offense. And literally, I think they almost split carries down the middle. I believe Michael Carter had 16 and Tevin Coleman had 14. And I just felt when he came back from injury that they would give him, the lead back role, because I honestly believe he should get 20 to 23 touches a game. Now, if you want to divvy that up between running the ball and catching the ball in the backfield, I'm fine with that. But he's that explosive as an athlete with the ball in his hands. Talking about contact balance, first guy never bringing him down. And then we saw the big run at the end to try to seal the game. Almost broke a 30-plus yard run and scored a touchdown to end the game. So you see that in the open field. He's not just elusive, but he has another gear and he can get going.
Huge pieces out of this draft class moving forward. You talk about Michael Carter. Elijah Moore, we're taping on Tuesday again outside the studio. We're following all the health and safety standards of the National Football League. So we're not together. But E. Moore could be back in the lineup.
Hopefully.
They're crossing their fingers because you really could use him against the defending Super Bowl champion Buccaneers. But you love those two pieces offensively. We talked about what Michael Carter II has done this season. He's got a chance to play and be out of those health and safety protocols later this week defensively. Brandon Eccles flashing as well. Elijah Vera Tucker, he's going to be back. So listen, this 2021 draft class is definitely one to build on. But the guy at the center of that, not only this year, but for years to come, Zach Wilson. Where are you seeing the most progress? He just set a franchise record in terms of rush yards by a quarterback in a single game. The 52-yard touchdown against the Jags was the longest rush by a Jets quarterback ever.
Yeah, and we've seen progress this past week, and he didn't put up a crazy amount of passing yards, but he lived within the offense. He got the ball out of his hands. He knew where to go, and I really just love how he's progressed on some pivotal third downs and even fourth down last week. We saw it multiple times. First third down in the game, in breaking route to Keelan Cole, hits him in stride. First down. Big fourth down, right? He pressure up the middle, evades, pressure goes to the right, pump fakes the defensive end, gets a first down. A pivotal fourth down. Gets off the first read. Braxton Berrios is coming across on a crossing pattern, hits him in stride for a first down. So I just love his progression. More specifically on big downs, the money downs, third and fourth down. And you love to see that from your quarterback. There's been other times where he's drifted out of the pocket and invaded the pocket when he didn't need to, but he seems like he's getting more comfortable in the pocket, EA. And that's what I love. Now, the next step in that progression is sometimes to hitch up into that pocket and deliver the ball. There's been times where he's kind of, faded back, but you get that from rookie quarterbacks. We saw it from Trevor Lawrence, took a really bad sack. Most young quarterbacks just always drift back. So the next progression is to hitch up in that pocket and deliver the ball when pressure is coming. If Zach Wilson can do take that next pivotal step, he can be special in this league for a long time. But I just like what he's done as far as the progress. We saw some of it in Miami. Took a bad sack because he was trying to go for the home run, pass to Braxton Berrios on that wheel route instead of just throwing a slant to Mims or throwing it to Braxton originally on a bubble screen. But we saw this week, he took the easy underneath throws. Where to go with the football when pressure was coming. And he didn't just evade the pocket unless he had to because pressure was coming.
We are presented by WynnBET. Betting is a team sport. Bet together at WynnBET. Dan Feeney is going to join us in a couple moments. Yes, the Mullet will be here. He got his first start of the season last week against Jacksonville. But the reason why he's here is really his versatility. He started 16 games at center for the Chargers last season. He's going to end up finishing this season as the Jets starting center because, unfortunately, Conor McGovern, who was so durable for so long, and I think he had an under-the-radar season. From my vantage point, I wanted to get your thoughts on that. Unfortunately, he suffered the knee injury against Jacksonville.
Yeah, Conor McGovern played really well this year, and a lot of people aren't talking about it. Kind of like they don't have talking about George Fant and how well he's played. Like when your name isn't called, that's a good thing when you're an offensive lineman, right? And there's been some times earlier in the season, and we talked about it. It was going to take time for this offensive group to gel, where there was some miscommunication on some pass rush games, but they've shored that up. Especially, I would say, like the last 8 or 9 games of the season. Conor McGovern has been a really bright spot. He's earned the job as the starting center. I would say going to next year. I know there's been some talks of maybe getting another offensive line in the first round, but I believe we're set at the center position now. If they were able to get, the kid from Iowa, Lindenbaum, I would then maybe move him to guard. And then you're talking about having really a good interior offensive line with, Elijah Vera Tucker, the kid from Iowa, and then McGovern, who has versatility, who's played some guard as well, putting him at guard. But all intents and purposes, the center has not been a weak spot for the New York Jets this year. He's played really well, done a good job as far as communication. There's been times I've broken film down and showed you the communication when the offensive line decides to slide. So he's been a bright spot. It just sucks for him because I believe he was 56 straight games without missing a start or something like that.
Yes.
So you feel for a guy like that who's been so durable to end up getting hurt right at the end of the season with only 2 games left. Your heart goes out to him.
Yeah, McGovern and Fant are big stories here this season up front along that offensive line, because they said going into the season that this system was a perfect fit for their physical skill sets. I think they proved that throughout the year. Fant, fortunately, he's going to finish up here at left tackle. That leads us into the Mackay.
He balled Sunday. Yeah, he balled. Not just in the pass game, but in the run. He was mauling guys. You can tell he was mad he missed last week.
Oh, yeah. So he's had a career year at left tackle, and the guy should get a ton of props for battling Morgan Moses throughout training camp to see who's going to be the right tackle. He ends up the right tackle in Carolina. Becton goes down week 1 with the knee injury. And they say, hey, George, you got to take care of Wilson's blind side. And that first game, everybody struggled. Wilson struggled. The offensive line struggled with the communication. But you have to be very encouraged where you are heading into the offseason with this offensive line. Mekhi Becton, Robert Saleh said it this week, barring a miracle, he won't be back. Your thoughts on that? Because I know you really wanted to see him just get a couple reps for his confidence, just to get back on the field. And then he was also asked, Saleh, this week about would the Jets consider moving him to right tackle because Fant has been so effective on the left side. He was not going to go down that road, and that's understandable.
Which is a tell.
Oh, you think so?
I think so. I mean, there's a lot to talk about. Everything that you just broke down. Yeah, and let's talk about George Fant. Right, this guy has never been comfortable in any one position. Like when he was in Seattle, they asked him to play guard. They asked him to play tight end. They asked him to play right tackle. They asked him to play left tackle. They even had this guy take some defensive reps one time, EA. So he's never been able.
Wanted him to play guard this year, and I'm like, I don't know.
So remember, me and Bart had it out on TV about that. And I'm like, that's not just the easiest thing to do. You're asking a tackle to kick inside. That's not just the easy transition. Like moving from the right to left side at tackle is hard enough on its own. But you're talking about changing a whole position where the game is so much quicker on the inside, and he hasn't done it a lot. Now he's been able to do it in a pinch for Seattle, but that's not what he does. So I think it's hard for people to understand as a player, when you're comfortable in a position specifically, like how much easier the game is for you. Like when you know that you're penciled in at one position, and a guy like me who had to be versatile to play 10 years in the league, that to play multiple positions, like I did that my whole life. So like for a guy like me, it wasn't hard, like to play outside linebacker, DN or D tackle. But for an offensive lineman that has played like multiple positions, like you'll always be a swing guy. It's hard for you to solidify yourself as a starter if you're not penciled in at one position. So
can we just say real quick that George Fant played college basketball?
That's what I'm saying. And that's another thing. So he hasn't even played football his whole life. He played college basketball. So like you're asking this dude to play multiple positions. First, let him just learn one position coming from a different sport. But he was able to do that, lasted in the league, was the sixth, the third offensive tackle in Seattle for 4 years. then finally got to be able to start half of the season because I believe one of their I think Dwayne Brown had got hurt, so he was able to go in at left tackle. And the Jets saw something there, and they decided to pay him that all season. Comes in last year, plays right tackle, was kind of banged up. But this year, it seems like he has just found his calling at the left tackle position. And it's because he's been able to start every game except for one, besides the first game where he went to right and then went to left. He's played at left tackle every game except for missing the Miami game last week. So he's definitely comfortable in that position. And I was telling people before the draft that I thought he was going to have a good year in the system. This system was suited perfectly for him for his athletic ability, first and foremost, when you talk about the zone scheme. And I knew he was going to progress as a pass, in pass protection. And he's done that. Like the one sack he gave up, it's because sometimes he gets in trouble and oversets trying to make sure he gets to the defensive end. He opens up the inside move. That was the only sack he gave up versus the Houston Texans. And he has fixed that throughout the season. He's gotten better at it. Now, every once in a while, he'll overset and use those long arms to push the defensive end down the side. But he doesn't get beat. Like, he's only given up one sack this year. So talking about Mekhi Becton, I think, and we've talked about this before, EA, that they should move him to right tackle. Like, this is a kid that was comfortable at right tackle in college. He played right tackle in college. And just for the viewers out there or people listening on podcasts, your right tackle is usually your more physical tackle. He's usually your better run blocker. He's your grinder. He's your meat grinder at the right tackle position. So I think Mekhi Becton fits that mold perfectly. You talk about keeping Fant and Elijah Vera Tucker, who have built up some chemistry this year, keep them together on the left side, move Mekhi Becton on the right side. Now, the thing is, will Mekhi be open to that? We saw an issue with Zeus Brown, and he ends up getting traded to Kansas City because he only wants to play left tackle. But I think Mekhi Becton will flourish at the right tackle position. Like, because again, he could be your mauler at that right tackle position. And it's not like he hasn't done it before. This is a young kid. He's only going into year 3, which is really year 2 because he missed his whole year this year. So he'll be able to adapt if he knows going into this season that they want to play him at right tackle.
A point for me here is the Jets already have an offensive line that should be considered in the top half in the National Football League.
Yeah.
And now 2022, you're thinking that, hey, we can have a top 10 offensive line. We can have a top 7
100%.
offensive line. Like, I think there's a lot of potential here for the Jets to have one of the better lines of football.
Yeah, 100%. And it all comes down to chemistry. So you're most likely going to get 3 of your starters back, right? McGovern will be back. Talk about Fant and then Elijah Vera Tucker. And then Mekhi Becton comes in and he'll solidify that line. And now you just got to solidify that right guard position now. Do you draft somebody high in the draft, first, second round, and bring them in, or do you go to free agency? There's some pretty good free agents. You're talking about Brandon Sheriff in Washington, Connor Williams for the Dallas Cowboys. Those 2 guys will be free. Joe D loves to, build the team from the line back. So the offensive line, defensive line, I could see him maybe being sneaky in free agency and grabbing one of those guards, paying them to make sure you solidify the offensive line. That way, we've seen Zach be more comfortable in the pocket, right, the last few weeks. It's because he has faith in this offensive line. They've done a good job protecting him. Well, if you get another, key piece up front, now you're talking about this guy really progressing better in year 2 because now he knows he might have that extra split second in the pocket. He doesn't have to always drift back. He can step up in the pocket and make some of those big-time throws. So I would not be surprised if we see Joe D make a move in free agency. You're talking about $208 million cap number this year, and the Jets potentially are going to have a boatload of money to spend in free agency. So I can see Joe D being more aggressive than he has done in the past.
Yeah, that's the point in all this right now. The Jets are 4-11. I think they are in a much better position than a lot of teams around them with similar records in terms of infrastructure already here. I mean,
you look
at
the Giants,
and in all assets
hurting in the cap space, and they have 4 wins. So they're stuck with some of those bad contracts to next year, and they won't be able to move pieces around and bring in new guys. So I agree with that. Even though the Jets are 4-11, they really probably could be have 6 or 7 wins. If you look at it as a whole, they're in a really good space with the young foundation they've built and the amount of money they'll be able to spend.
100%. So you see the O-line being fortified before us. Yeah. We see Michael Carter and Elijah Moore become key playmakers immediately in year 1, and they're only going to get better. Yeah. Corey Davis is going to be back on this team as well next year. Of course, you signed him in free agency. He got off to a hot start. He had the chemistry with Zach Wilson. Then in the defensive side of the ball, Carl Lawson is a
Yeah.
piece you hope comes back and is 100%. CJ Mosley has been terrific at the inside linebacker position. You talk about adding Quincy Williams, who was a waiver find. In the back end, you're very encouraged about your cornerbacks.
Corners,
I did want to ask you about safety. Oh, my God. The Jets started their 8th and 9th
crazy
safety last game. So you're talking about Jason Pinnock, a day 3 pick, who was a corner in college.
But honestly, I think
Will
he's a better fit at safety.
Will Parks, who just came in here less than a week ago, he's out there on the field making a few tackles for you. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, they're definitely going to attack that position via draft and probably free agency. I wouldn't be surprised if they bring in 2 guys. I think Marcus May is a guy they could consider bringing back off the injury. Hopefully he heals up and is 100%. But they're definitely going to bring in, I would say, maybe 2 veterans at safety and maybe even draft another guy because we've seen the injuries at that safety position. And in Robert Saleh's defense, you got to have 2 valuable safeties because you got to have one guy that can take away the tight ends. We saw it in San Francisco, a guy like Jimmy Ward, and even Jaworski Tart is a guy that's really good covering the tight ends. And then you have to have that physical presence in the safety, which Jaworski Tart is. Jimmy Ward will hit you too, but he has cornerback-like skills because he started as a corner. So you got to have that good combination for the communication aspect, and just because they tie in that defense together at the safety position. And it's been tough for the Jets because they just have not had continuity back there because so many different guys have started at the safety position this year.
Let's bring in the mullet, Dan Feeney.
WynnBET is now live in New Jersey, and they're bringing the excitement of Wynn Las Vegas to online sports betting. Get in on all your favorite teams, players, and sports, from boosted parlays to live in-game odds on every major sport. They have what you need to win. Sign up today to receive a special offer, risk-free $500 sports bet. Download the WynnBET app now or visit WYNNBet.com to start winning. WynnBET, an official sportsbook and gaming partner of the New York Jets. Offer subject to change. Terms and conditions at WynnBET.com. Must be 21 or older and present in New Jersey. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, call 1-800-270-7117.
Let's bring in Daniel James Feeney. Do you go by DJF? Because I ask you that because the Jets have a lot of guys going by their initials, of course, this year. AVT, Elijah Vera Tucker. You got Laurent Dumouriez Tardif, LDT as well.
Yeah, man, we got GVR, and it's just crazy. JFM. I've never been on a team with so many acronym names, but no, I just go by Dan or Feeney or just those 2. Unfortunately, no DJF for me.
Okay.
Hey, Feeney, I have to ask about the mullet. Where was the inspiration? Where did you get the inspiration for the mullet, and why did you decide to do it?
Well, it kind of all started back in the beginning of quarantine. I couldn't get my hair cut for a while, and then I was like, well, first time I could, I was like, hey, let's put a mullet in there and see what it looks like, and then kind of just stuck from there,
Did you ever have one growing up?
No, never had one growing up. My dad never had one, so it was just kind of a fun little thing I wanted to do. So,
Dan, let's just talk about your versatility. You've played some center, you played some guard. Started this last week at guard. What position are you more comfortable with? And it seems like going forward that you will have to start at the center position. But what position would you prefer? Are you just comfortable playing both?
Yeah, I'm pretty comfortable playing both. With the Chargers, I played guard for about 2.5 years, and then the last year at center. So I've been playing a lot of both. So it just kind of just helps that I can kind of swing in and out at the guard and center position.
So what happens in game late? You start at the guard position, and then when your teammate's Conor McGovern goes down, what's the mindset there? Because here's your teammate, he's on the ground, looks like he's experienced a somewhat serious injury, but at the same time, you got to go in there and take over at center.
Yeah, that's the worst part about this business. People go down, and it's unfortunately the show goes on. So you just got to handle your business. You got to do your job, and obviously I had to take snaps with Zach just to make sure our mesh was good with the snapping and stuff. So it's tough. It's tough to see doctors coming to Conor's aid, and then I still got to go do center stuff. So it's tough, but that's the hardest part about this business for sure.
Dan, what's your set specifically these last two games, and then also the team's mindset as you get ready to play? Tom Brady, defending champs coming into MetLife this week. What's your mindset and the team's mindset going forward for these last two games of the season?
Yeah, we got a couple good challenges these next couple of weeks for sure. Both playoff teams, playoff contenders. So it's gonna be tough for us for sure, especially guys coming in and off COVID lists. So we're gonna have to deal with those, obstacles throughout the week. But I think our biggest thing is just we want to keep building on what we did in the Jacksonville game. Keep doing what we can do, focus on the little things, and just keep trying to build up the program as best we can.
Sheldon Rankins, I thought, eloquently talked about the situation at hand here for you guys last week, where 20 players entered health and safety protocols, and your head coach and quarterbacks coach as well, where you're sitting there on the practice field. What was it like when guys get pulled, and also having that feeling like you don't want to be next?
Yeah, it is tough. Unfortunately, this is, this COVID stuff isn't going away anytime soon. So we just got to keep dealing with it and keep, taking precautions as best as we can. And, it's just about handling your business. You got to be smart. You can't be, going out partying and stuff like that. You don't want to get COVID and, be out for the next couple of weeks. So it's just about handling your business, staying smart. And, it's a lot colder up here than it was in Cali for me. So just, staying on, taking your NyQuil at night every once in a while, getting your emergency boost. So just so, your immune system's high, everything's boosted. So you don't have to fight that issue.
Yeah, let's talk about one of your former college teammates, Tevin Coleman. You guys both went to Indiana. Was your familiarity with him one of the reasons why you signed there? And then just talked about, as you're going through the free agent process, what was it about Robert Saleh and Mike LaFleur that made you want to come sign with the Jets?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I actually signed here first, and then Tevin signed after me. So he followed me.
So he followed you.
Yeah, that's how I think how it went. But
well, that's the trend, right?
Yeah, absolutely. No, it was super cool seeing that Tevin signed here. Obviously we played in Indiana for a couple of years together, and he had an incredible career there, and it was just small world, that we signed here together. But it's always good, seeing a former teammate, and there's still a couple Indiana Hoosier guys in the league, so it's always good to see them and that tight knit group we had back then.
You blocked for him when he eclipsed 2,000 yards on the ground. How special of a season was that?
Yeah, that was awesome, man. It was such a cool, mark. Our old line coach and our running backs coach, they were really, trying to hit that mark. So we were just trying to block our butt off for Tevin, For Tevin, he can squeeze through the smallest hole and then get in there and just freaking, he's got gas forever. So he'll hit it. He'll run people over, man. He's just a special back all around.
Dan, let's talk about this upcoming matchup. You know that Todd Bowles is synonymous with bringing pressure. Just talk about the communication aspect now that you're moving into center this week. Just talk about how the communication has to be on key with a team that likes to bring as much pressure as the Bucs like to bring.
Yeah, I think it's going to be similar to the Miami game. They like to bring pressure a lot, and it's definitely going to be a communication-based game for us. We're going to have to be on our P's and Q's for sure, just all around. And, identify the structure and, obviously watch our tape and see who they like bringing, who they like doing all that stuff. So it's just kind of handling the little things and making sure that everybody's on the same page, because one of the sayings is O-line we like to say is, if we're all wrong, we're all right. If all five of us are doing the same thing together, we're going to have a good chance at having a positive play.
What about the communication this week with Zach Wilson, and what have you liked about the rookie in terms of him grasping the system? Because everybody's talked throughout the year about him embracing the process of not just game day, but getting ready to play.
Yeah, I obviously I've been watching from afar for the past couple of weeks, but you can just see that throughout this year, each game, I feel like that he's taken more of a leadership role, more control, and the confidence, I think, is just oozing out of him at this point. So it's it's awesome to see, a young guy just take the role and take that leadership aspect, because he wants to do what he does. He can scramble, he can make big time plays and stuff like that, and he loves doing that. And I think when he does that, the leadership role just starts oozing out of him. His confidence starts coming out. So it's cool to see, and especially these past couple of weeks, I think he's been taking great steps towards that.
Dan, let's talk about this run game, man. It was monstrous Sunday, over 270 yards rushing. This week, though, you got a run defense that's pretty good with Vea and then Dominican Sue. How can you guys up front keep that consistency in the run game going against this outfit this week?
Yeah, I think it kind of just falls back onto our, following the little things and doing our fundamentals right. They're obviously a stout defense. They got a lot of great players all across that defense. So we're definitely going to have to bring our A game. They got great run stoppers, like you said, Vita Vea, Dominican Sue, Devin White. So we're definitely going to have a challenge cut out for us. But I think it's always going to be about us just handling our business and, staying on our fundamentals.
How tight is this offensive line group? We saw all the pictures in the offseason, you guys going to games, having a pop at the Islanders game, and you became a fan favorite here quickly amongst Jets fans.
Yeah, it's awesome, man. It's so cool when you get into a room like that with veteran guys, George Fant, Conor McGovern, GVR, and, Morgan Moses. They're just guys that have been in the league for so long. They have so many games under their belt. And it's just cool to see that they have, they still like to have fun like that, and they still like to come out and, hang out with the guys. And it's a real cool feeling. And I think it makes a tighter knit O-line group for sure.
Dan, just talk about the opportunity for you personally that you get these last 3 games to potentially start. Now, it sucks that one of your teammates got hired, but just talk about what this opportunity means to you and what do you want to go out there and prove that you can do besides, showing your versatility at guard and center. What do you want to accomplish in these next 2 games after having, started last week versus Jacksonville?
Yeah, obviously injuries are tough, but obviously you gotta, the show goes on, so I gotta roll at center, and I'm just excited to obviously play a role in this offense and help these guys win. And I'm going to do the best I can to make sure everything is, on point. The ID points are good. Everybody's on the same page, and just making sure the communication will be quick and efficient, so everybody kind of knows what they need to do off that.
One guy who doesn't get talked enough of, I think, is John Benton, the Jets offensive line coach. This is your first year under him, obviously, Dan.
Yep.
What does he bring to the table? How is he a communicator? How has he done this year with you guys in the room?
No, he's been great, man. He obviously brings a lot of experience, and he's coached some of the greats, Staley, Trent, Lakeland Tomlinson. So, it's just it's awesome to see that he has guys that have obviously, they're doing O-line play at a very high level. And I think he does a great job of breaking the film down, making a great run game for us. And he does a good job of communicating, what the defenses like to do, bringing in different fronts and things of that nature. So he definitely likes being in depth with all of his information that he gives us. So we go in feeling confident that we know, for the most part, how a defense is going to try and attack us.
Yeah, let's talk about another guy that hasn't been talked about enough that's had a really good season, the guy you got to play next to Sunday, George Fant. Just talk about the growth you've seen from him and talk about the stellar season he's had this year.
Oh, man, he's playing out of his mind right now. He's doing awesome. And you can see it every week. He just brings that attitude and toughness on the field, off the field. And, he's exciting to watch. He's smooth on the field, with his sets. And, he's a mauler in the run game. So he's just having an incredible year, man. I'm beyond happy for him.
A kid from the Midwest who started his pro career out west with the Chargers in Southern California. New York doesn't have the sunshine 300-plus days a year or the warmth of Southern California, but have you liked your time here? What has it been like being in the New York, New Jersey area, and what do you think about this fan base?
Oh, man, it's awesome. The fan base is absolutely unreal, and the Islander fan base is pretty cool too, obviously. But no, it's been awesome here. I've enjoyed my time so much, and it feels so awesome to feel welcomed and stuff of that nature. But it's so cool, man. Having a fan base like this in New York, media outlet is obviously unmatched, and it's super cool.
Dan,
How unique was that? Go ahead, Douz.
Have you always been a hockey fan, or was that something that you kind of just gravitated to when you got up here to New York?
So I always liked watching hockey, man. I always had such a great respect for him because I'm not the best ice skater. Can't really balance on the ice. So just watching these guys make athletic moves like that on ice while controlling a little puck, it's baffling to me, and it's very impressive. So I just love watching them do it.
Have you ever seen the movie Slapshot?
Oh, a long time ago, man. I couldn't quote it to save my life, but I have seen it once.
You gotta check that one
Yeah,
out.
no, I gotta do a little more homework on that one.
A legendary classic right there.
Yeah.
Dan, thanks so much for joining us today. We enjoyed it. I just wanted to end with, what was that scene like in the locker room? How unique was that last week? Ron Middleton celebrates his first win as a head coach after so many years of being an assistant, not only in the NFL, but in the college game and playing in the NFL for 10 plus seasons at the tight end position. And then seeing Robert Saleh come on Microsoft Teams and the whole locker room basically erupt after all that.
Yeah, it was crazy. I mean, we were obviously excited, as you saw from the videos, but it was awesome. We were excited to get the win, for Coach Middleton. I think he did a great job, coming in as an interim head coach. He was, he relayed very, very good information, and obviously one of his overlying themes of the week, I think, was just being a professional, because we know how this game happens, especially with these COVID times. People are going to be going down left and right, but it's just about kind of handling your business and making sure that, you can do the best that you can do at this time. Unfortunately, some people are going to be up, some people are going to be down, and you just never know. So I think he did a great job, relaying that information. And obviously he came into the locker room with incredible juice after the game, just absolutely stoked. And we were all happy for him, because we all thought he did a great job. And it was great seeing Coach Saleh obviously on the teams come on right after that. It was crazy. Obviously he wanted to be there. You could see it on the on the teams, but unfortunately he couldn't be there at the time, but he was there in spirit for sure.
Thanks, Dan. We wish you luck these final two games.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate the time.
WynnBET is now live in New Jersey, and they're bringing the excitement of Wynn Las Vegas to online sports betting. Get in on all your favorite teams, players, and sports, from boosted parlays to live in-game odds on every major sport. They have what you need to win. Sign up today to receive a special offer, risk-free $1,000 sports bet. Download the WynnBET app now or visit wynnbet.com to start winning. WynnBET, an official sportsbook and gaming partner of the New York Jets. Offer subject to change. Terms and conditions at wynnbet.com. Must be 21 or older and present in New Jersey. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, call 1-800-270-7117.
Good stuff from Dan Feeney there, Douz. What do you think about the matchup ahead for the Jets, the defending Super Bowl champion? Tampa Bay Buccaneers are coming to town.
Yeah, this is a big measuring stick for the Jets, right? You got the Super Bowl champs coming in, Tom Terrific coming into MetLife, where he's terrorized the Jets for so many years in a different uniform. But, we talked about this earlier off camera, omens, right? The Tampa Bay Buccaneers have never won here. I remember we beat them in 2013 on a walk-off field goal from my guy, Folk Hero.
Yes.
Let's see if the Jets can get a little bit of that magic. Tampa Bay is already locked in their division already. Now they're trying to see if Green Bay slips up, if they could potentially get a number one seed. But if you look at Tom Brady and this offense, a lot has changed since the beginning of the year, right? They've been decimated by injuries. They're missing their top two receivers, and Chris Godwin and also Mike Evans. We'll see if Mike Evans can go. We know Godwin definitely won't be playing. But what we saw from them last week versus the Carolina Panthers, they switched up a lot of 12 personnel, which they routinely do anyway because they got Bray and Gronkowski. But we saw 12T, which means they brought in an extra tackle as the tight end position, and they tried to run the ball physically earlier in the game. And then we saw a lot of 13 personnel with O.J. Howard, Cameron Brate, and then also Rob Gronkowski. So because they've been so decimated at the the receiver position, they win a lot of 13 personnel, but they were passing out of that a lot of times. And Tom Brady does what he does, play action pass, gets the ball in his hands when he drops back in 3 or 5 step drops, gets out of his hands quick. And as a defender, sometimes you get frustrated, right? Because he gets the ball out of his hand so quick, but you can't get frustrated. You got to keep rushing. Tom Brady's kryptonite has always been that inside pressure. If the defensive tackles can get to him up the middle and get him off his spot, that's where he struggled. Antonio Brown, if I'm, Robert Saleh or Jeff Ulbrich, I'm doubling him the whole game, even on run plays.
I was just going to ask you that.
Dude had 16 targets last week. Like, that's where the football is going. 16 targets, caught 10 of them, went over 100 yards. Like, he's not going to beat me. Somebody else.
How much do they move him, Douz? How much do they move him?
But the thing is, and that's the thing that we struggle with, right? So communication on the back end is going to have to be good. Now we'll see if some of the Jets get some of their starters back. Hopefully, Michael Carter comes back, Elijah Riley, Ashton Davis, because the communication aspect has to be key. If you want to bracket a guy that they motion a lot, you got to be able to talk to the other side and be like, all right, you guys bracket over here, now we're zone over here. Because they motion him almost like every play. They get it. They try to get Antonio to Browns multiple ways. Screen is going to be big this game. Running back screen, receiver screen to Antonio Brown. So the Jets' communication is going to have to be on it this week. This is a team that had gone a lot of 11 and 12 personnel, but a lot more 13 and 12 and 12T because of the injuries at the receiver position.
So 13 personnel and 12T, as you term it. I would think if the Buccaneers are watching the Jets and what has happened against the run here of late.
They don't run the ball.
Yeah, right. Even though no Fournette, you got Keyshawn Vaughn who really broke a long one, and then Ronald Jones, right?
Yeah, so Ronald Jones is a guy that they originally wanted to be the guy. Fournette kind of beat him out late in the year last year, and then in the playoffs, a.k.a. playoff Lenny, took over and kind of solidified his job. And I think, Bruce Arians even has come out and said this is a time for Ronald Jones to prove that he can be the guy. Kind of was minimized versus the Carolina Panthers. They did a good job of, corralling and stopping him from running the football last week. And they gave him opportunities. I believe he had 20 carries. But the Carolina Panthers just did a really good job of stopping the run when they were in 13 and 12 and 12T. For people that don't know, 12 is one back, 2 tight ends. When you go 12T, it's 1 tight end, and the offensive tackle is the extra tight end. So 13 is 3 tight ends and 1 back. So they were, trying to play bully ball with them, and Carolina did a good job. Now, Keyshawn Vaughn is a guy that's been in the doghouse for Bruce Arians. They took him high in the draft, had a couple fumbles, and he's not been able to get back on the field because of Leonard Fournette and Ronald Jones. But last week showed what type of back he can be. Broke a 55-yard run for a touchdown. Is a very explosive back. So when he's in the game, right, you really got to get everybody to the ball, because if he breaks 1 or 2 tackles, you're not catching him from behind. He's that type of explosive back. He's usually a pretty good pass catcher, but he's dropped a few passes, so they've kind of kept him off a 3rd down, and that's what they really missed the most with Leonard Fournette, because besides Ron Gronkowski when Antonio Brown was out, the next person that Tom Brady trusted the most was Leonard Fournette out of the backfield, catching the ball out of the backfield, and they've missed that a lot with him because Ronald Jones isn't really a good receiver out of the backfield as well. So, knowing Tom Brady, he likes to go to the backs out of the backfield. He doesn't have that weapon right now with the injuries that they've had at the running back position, with Leonard Fournette and then Gio Bernard being hurt as well. So Keyshawn Vaughn is explosive. Grayson had a really good game on the outside too. I think he broke one for like 60 yards on a wheel route. He's a guy that has Olympic track speed, right? Was on the LSU track team. So you have to understand when you're playing a guy like that, speed kills, right? Don't let him get on top of you. Don't be caught flat-footed because he's going to run right past you.
Brady, the most accomplished player of all time, still doing it at 44? So it's got to be that
Makes no sense.
Avocado ice cream. I guess there's something in that ice cream.
100%.
He leads the NFL in passing yards and touchdowns again. What's he like to play against? And I'm not talking X's and O's. As far as the mind games, and also he seems like a very emotional guy, which he obviously uses that to his advantage. But we've seen teams get under his skin, most notably of late, the New Orleans Saints, right?
Yeah, this guy is an ultimate competitor, right? And he talks that trash on the field. I remember somebody asked him one time, besides Phillip Rivers, who was the guy that talks the most trash? I'm like, it's Tom Brady, 100%. Yeah, 100%. He talks trash, but he backs it up. And this is a guy, you talk about the mental aspect of the game. Like, there's only so much you're going to do pre-snap because he kind of knows what you're going to do. He's seen almost every defense of mankind. Like, so like there's only so much pre-snap motion you can now. You don't just want to just line up and tell him what you're doing, right? You want to do some pre-snap motion, but he kind of knows where you're going. So the things that have hurt him, like the New Orleans Saints, right? They like to get in your face, play man coverage, put hands on the receivers, and then he has to make tight window throws. And if you can get pressure up the middle while doing that, and that's another reason why Rex Ryan used to get up under his skin, right? He used to blitz the house. He had the corners on the outside to get in his receivers' faces, and they couldn't get free release. And so Tom Brady likes to throw the ball quick. Well, if a guy's getting jammed at the line of scrimmage, you can't throw the ball quick. So that's why teams like New Orleans Saints or the Jets, when I played here, gave Tom Brady so many issues because teams that blitz and can get to him up the middle while the receivers are fighting off, getting jammed at the line of scrimmage, it throws off his timing. So he doesn't like that. So, the Jets recently have been more of a, blitz team, pressure team, man coverage team. So we'll see with Michael Carter coming back, hopefully, if they do a lot more of that as far as, getting into receivers' faces, putting hands on Antonio Brown. Like, you can't just give Antonio Brown a free release off the line of scrimmage. Even if he's off the ball, the thing is he's so shifty. So you got to be careful. You don't want to jam and miss, and then this guy's wide open. But that's why I say you bracket to his side, because even if the front guy misses him, you got, some leverage in behind him that somebody's going to be there. But you got to get hands on these receivers at the line of scrimmage.
Yeah. Antonio Brown just pops right back in the lineup. And like you said,
that's crazy. After missing 3 games.
And he goes over 100 yards.
Makes no sense, right? And I think people tend to forget because he's so vibrant and lively. This guy's in his 30s, right, doing this. Like, he's not a young chicken anymore. Like, he's up there. I think he's 30 or 31. So Antonio Brown, you could tell, like, people, for all the scrutiny he gets, you can tell this guy cares about football. And he puts in the work.
Hard Knocks a couple years ago, right? You just saw the guy's a physical freak.
Like, he puts the work. Like, there's not many people I've seen work harder at their craft than Antonio Brown. So, like, for all the antics and everything he does off the field, when it comes to between those white lines, there's nobody that's usually more locked in than him.
He reminds me, and maybe this isn't, I'm not saying across the board, but there's some kind of Floyd Mayweather in him to his game where he just kind of goes to his own beat and his work ethic is just off the charts.
Oh, 100%. I think this guy still works out 3 to 4 times a day, even during the season. I've trained with him down in South Florida, and just the work that he puts in. Like, he'll have like Floyd Mayweather, right? They kind of go to their own tune. Like, he'll have an early morning session, right? A light afternoon, and then like 12 a.m. to be out there running. Like, that's what they do, but that's what makes them great. Like, a lot of people aren't ready to make that type of sacrifice because the game and boxing was that important to these two individuals because they want to be great. And Antonio Brown should be a first ballot Hall of Famer for what he's done, between the white lines.
Mayweather was notorious for getting up or staying up all night, maybe probably gambling all night.
Oh, there'll be times he'll go out.
And going to the gym at 2 a.m.
Yeah, he'll go out, but he doesn't drink. He'll go out with his friends, and then, like, as soon as he get back, hey, man, it's time to work, man. Go get the car, follow me. I'm about to run 10 miles. Like, what?
I know,
but
man.
That's what makes them great, though.
Brady, does he initiate the war words, or is he more of a counterpuncher in that sense? Because like you mentioned, that guy will get after you, not just throwing the football, get in your ear.
It's both, right? Because he's just always high intensity. So, like, say they put a big drive together, he'll talk his shit. Like, he'll talk it to you. Like, that's what he does. I remember I got into it with him my first year with the Jets. We were playing up there in New England. Tight game. It was a monsoon game. I don't know if you remember that. I believe it was a Thursday night game, first Thursday night game of the year. And I hit him, like, right when he was releasing the ball. And then he got up and he got in my face. So I kind of like did like this to him. And he flopped. I was like, man, get up, man. And he started talking trash back and forth. I'm like, you're not going to get that call, Tom. I know you to go, but you're not getting that call, man. They saw that you flopped. Like, stop it. But, I mean, it's always been a heated rivalry between us and the Patriots. So, but Tom Brady, the crazy thing is I was talking about this with a few friends the other day. Like, it's good to see the relaxed Tom in Tampa Bay because we've never seen this type of Tom Brady in New England, right? The guy that's just relaxed. Super Bowl, they do the parade on the water, being drunk coming off the boat. This is a guy you could have a beer with. The Tom in New England, you were like, nah, I'm cool. I'll just see you during the season. But this guy in Tampa is like a guy you'd like to go out to eat with, maybe have a beer with, watch a game with. So it's good to see him at his elder state in the NFL, being able to truly be yourself and kind of unwind. So,
well, you can see the reasons why that he, after 20 years of being
it's time
in
to go.
that structure,
It's time to go.
had to say, hey, man, it's time to go down to Florida. And oh, by the way, me as a person who grew up in Buffalo, New York, I totally get not wanting to deal with the winters anymore.
Oh, my
At
God.
some point in your life, if you're around that, and he grew up in Northern California, it's not that warm, but it's a hell of a lot warmer than being in the Boston
New
area
England.
for 20
Yeah.
years.
Yeah.
You know, you grew up in Florida. You're a lucky man. But there's reasons why people want to go south or west, where 300 days out of the year you're getting sunshine.
Yeah, and I think you see it, Tom Brady. He kind of looks even younger too, EA, right? The last few years.
I don't know how that's even possible.
You know what I'm saying? It's like the Benjamin Button thing. Like, what's he got going on? We know it's the avocados. Maybe it's, you know, the vitamin D from the sun in Florida. But he just seems like he's more lively. He has more life. He's just fun. Like, this is fun Tom Brady that we're seeing the last 2 years.
With that being said, can you speak to the opportunity is for the Jets fans this week? And you can talk about noise, sure, because
the Jet fans have seen this guy multiple times.
A lively environment. But if you're a fan, and I can't believe I'm saying this because I was on the field. I was working as a PR assistant for the Jets in 2001 when Mo Lewis and company hit Bledsoe. It was across the field for me. Mm-hmm. And then this skinny kid from Michigan came in the game. He finished the game. The Jets win 10-3. Nobody knew what was going to take place. Yeah. You know, the Patriots were going to be the little engine that could in 2001, and they eventually took down the Rams, and nobody thought they were going to have a run, and the rest is history. Yeah. But with that being said, I do think this can be an amazing experience for anybody going to the game on Sunday, because this might be the last time you see this guy live.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, Jet fans have seen him for multiple years at MetLife, but like you said, this could potentially be the last time he comes to MetLife in his career. So I think, you know, that's something that Jet fans will kind of relish and want to come to the game for. And Jet Nation has been amazing. Like, even Sunday's game, right? You got two teams that are, you know, at the top of the draft order, and MetLife was packed, man. It was a lot of energy. It was lively in there. I saw videos, you know, on social media. There was a lot of fans going to a game in late December when the Jets have essentially nothing to play for. So you have to love the, you know, Jet Nation for going out. And I've said this for the longest time. I played for both New York franchises. To me, there might be more Giant fans, but there's no more loyal fans than the New York Jets. They are truly loyal, and they're going to come out now. Sometimes they'll get after you because they're more of like the blue collar group. That I like to say they're more blue collar than the Giant fans. So they'll get after you because they've been fans for literally their whole life. Like, since they've been in diapers, guys have been fans for 30, 40, 50 years. So I just have to give a shout out to Jet Nation for coming out, you know, even with nothing to play for, and cheering on their team. But this will be an opportunity for them to see not probably the greatest quarterback that's ever graced the football field for potentially the last time at MetLife.
Yeah, boom, get after him, make it uncomfortable. You maybe get a couple delayed game calls. That would be great. But at the end of the game, I really don't mind at all. If you are a sports fan, you raise your cap and say, hey, man.
Respect.
Yeah, respect, because he deserves it. He commands it. And, you know, this could be the last time we see Brady at MetLife Stadium facing the Jets. So let's go to the other side of the coin really quickly, because we could talk about this game for hours. But Todd Bowles, former Jets head coach, defensive coordinator of the Buccaneers, matching up with Zach Wilson. Yeah, TB's not going to be out there, but his scheme can cause fits for young quarterbacks. And can you talk about not only that, but the dynamic at play with Zach Wilson? Because for a young quarterback, you can get caught up in this thinking that I'm facing Tom Brady.
No, you facing Todd Bowles.
Yeah, Bowles and
facing the other TB.
Despite having a number of injuries, you got to channel everything towards them.
Yeah, and it kind of reminds me of the Miami Dolphins a few weeks ago. That second half when they adjusted to Zach Wilson and started bringing the house. Well, Todd Bowles is going to do that from snap one. We saw it last week versus the Carolina Panthers. He knew that the offense has been decimated with injury, and they've had some big injuries on defense as well. This team made a run to the Super Bowl because they were able to get after the quarterback, and they had great linebacker play, and their young secondary was able to hold up, right? They've had some injuries in the secondary. They're actually more healthier than they've ever been now. Carlton Davis is a guy that they'll usually let travel with the number one receiver. We'll see if Elijah Moore can go. It's Tuesday. We'll find out later on the week how practice goes. But I'm sure if Elijah Moore plays, Carlton Davis will travel, and they'll probably either zone the other side or play, two men on the other side. Todd Bowles is synonymous with bringing pressure and going man coverage, right? So Zach Wilson, your legs were effective Sunday when the Jacksonville Jaguars went man coverage. That is something that is going to be up for this week too. And I think Todd Bowles will probably look at that and see the last few weeks, Zach has gotten more comfortable. I want to say, 4 rushing touchdowns in the last 5 games?
4 rushing touchdowns in 5 games.
Yeah, so that's something that Todd Bowles is definitely going to keep in his back pocket, knowing that Zach has been more comfortable taking off with the football. But there's going to be a lot tight window throws, man, because this team gets in your face. They press at the line of scrimmage. They play man coverage. Jordan Whitehead is a guy that hasn't gotten enough credit. He's one of the best young safeties in all of football. He was the best player on the field Sunday versus Carolina, and I'm including Tom Brady in that conversation and Antonio Brown. Jordan Whitehead was the best field. If you go back and watch that film, what this guy did, he is an enforcer in the secondary, had an interception in that game on a heck of a play that was tipped up in the air. He was just all over the field versus Carolina, and he's been a really good safety the last 2 years. He's just now starting to get the credit that he deserves. So he's a guy that Zach Wilson definitely needs to know where he's at. If he's around the box, most of the time he's coming. They like to insert him in the run game because he is a physical presence at the safety position. So this is a defense that can get after you. Now, Shaq Barrett won't be there. We'll see if JPP plays this week. He didn't play last week.
Nope.
Joe Tryon is a guy that they liked that they got in the first round. He's probably playing more reps than they intended for him to play. And that man, Vita Vea, man, I mean, what can you say?
It's so hard to run inside against this team.
I mean, you can't run against this team because Dominican Sue and Vita Vea are 2 big guys. They also got McClendon, who was with the Jets as well, inside at the defensive tackle position. Devin White, to me, has been, hasn't gotten enough Pro Bowl recognition, but he should, because this guy can do it all as far as his pass coverage skills and what he does in blitzing the quarterback. There was times last year during the playoffs where he would take out a tight end or take out there was times he traveled with Travis Kelce and took him out the game. Alvin Kamara one-on-one. That's rare for any linebacker or even safety to do that. But at the linebacker position, because he is so athletic, he was able to take Alvin Kamara out of that game. So this is a defense, even though it's had some injuries, they can still get after you, right? You stated it already. 7 sacks last week versus the Carolina Panthers. So this is a team that will get after you. So Zach really needs to know where his hot routes are. And then the man coverage, if you have the ability to take off and run, you have to do that just to keep this team honest.
In the NFC, I'm rooting for NFC Championship rematch. I want to see Rodgers and Brady.
I think everybody wants to see that.
I want to see it one more time, and I think we're headed in that direction. Hopefully the Jets can keep this thing close there in the second half. A final thought here as we close, and we're presented by WinBet. Betting is a team sport. Bet together at WinBet. What do you make of the AFC East, Deuce?
They better put some respect on this division.
Both the Bills and Patriots are 9-6. Your guy Josh Allen had one of his best games of his career.
He was cooking.
Last week.
I ain't gonna lie, man. I don't believe in him, but I mean, if you talk about it, right, a lot of those plays were off platform. You can't live and die with that. Now he hit him that week, but who's to say the next week he's gonna hit him? Now that 3rd and 11 throw to Stephon Diggs, which is disrespectful down the seam. This guy's arm, and I've always said his arm talent is disrespectful. Some of the throws that he can make. But they played well. They went into New England, got the job done. Now on top of the AFC East, they have the Jets and I believe
Atlanta
Falcons.
this week.
Yeah.
But just big picture wise, New England's going to be good for a while. They're not going away.
Bills too.
The Bills got a young quarterback.
Miami 10-6 and now 7 straight wins.
Here's Miami, the first team in NFL history with a 7-game losing streak and 7-game win streak in the same season. Crazy. If the season ended today, they'd be in the playoffs. If you play your Titans next week, that's going to be a game to watch.
That's going to be an L for them. That's going to be an L for them. I mean, and you have to give a shout out to Brian Flores for keeping that team together. 1-7. They had a really tough schedule coming out the gate. They got a win versus New England when they really shouldn't have. Damian Harris fumbled the ball right when New England was about to score.
Yep.
Because even if they don't score a touchdown there, they kick the field goal, they're up in that game.
Yeah, and
So,
then Miami
yeah.
would have started 0-8 instead
0
of
8,
1-7.
exactly. So for a team, it kind of reminds me of Flores' first year, right? They struggled back into the year. I don't know if you remember this. They beat New England, and New England got knocked out of the first seed and had to play at home in the first round instead of getting the bye because Miami won that last game in New England. So, I mean, I'm not putting anything past Miami. That's going to be a defensive juggernaut game. Brian Flores is not going to let A.J. Brown beat him like the San Francisco 49ers did, because he literally took over that game Thursday night and single-handedly beat the 49ers by himself. That with Jimmy Garoppolo making some untimely throws and throwing a few picks. But that's going to be a good defensive matchup. Like, Tennessee Titans defense has been playing really well down the stretch. This is the defense that Mike Vrabel envisioned. They were beat up at the beginning of the year, but everybody's healthy. And then it looks like King Henry has the opportunity maybe to potentially come back this week. If not this week, the following week.
That would be crazy.
The Colts are on the Titans' heels. So, like, if you're the Titans, you can't have any slip-ups because not only do you want to go.
Going to be fine because they swept them, right? They got the one-game lead. So
but if Tennessee loses out and the Colts went out, so, like, you got to think Miami's playing for everything this week. Like, if they went out, they're in the playoffs. So, like, this is a big game this week.
Miami's close. Yeah, to your point, this magic carpet ride, it might have an ending here coming up because you have Tennessee and then the Patriots. But just looking
they're going to beat the Patriots. I'm calling that right now, so we'll get back to that. But
okay.
I think they're going to beat them in Week 18.
Week. But 2022, this division, who we thought and we knew was in transition in the post-Tom Brady era, this division, for a while, people are like, well, what's going to come of it? I'll tell you what. Next year, I think you're going to have four
toughest division in football.
Decent, good, very good teams, 1 through 4.
Yeah, and if you look at the quarterback position, all 4 quarterbacks, I believe, are either 25 or 26 and under. So these guys are just scratching this. A lot of 3 of the quarterbacks aren't even scratching the surface yet. Like, if you talk about New England with their rookie quarterback, Zach Wilson, rookie quarterback, Tua Tagovailoa being a very young quarterback. Like, these 3 quarterbacks haven't even scratched the surface of what they can be. And then Josh Allen is starting to hit his stride, right? He's one of the top quarterbacks in the league. So you're talking about guys fighting for this division year in and year out. And everybody thought this was going to be the laughing stock of the NFL with Tom Brady leaving. But what happens if they get 3 teams in the playoffs? You would have to say that this is the best division in football right now.
Oh, man.
And so if you're the Jets, right, like, these were quick turnarounds by these teams too, right? Buffalo, quick turnaround, Miami, quick turnaround, New England, quick turnaround.
Jets
so now there's so much more pressure on the Jets to get that quick turnaround as well, because these teams were able to do it in a 2 to 3 year span.
I agree. And we're going to leave it right there, but I'll continue to state that the Jets are going to be there playing meaningful games.
You got to be playing meaningful games in December next year if you're the Jets.
Agreed. Happy New Year, everybody. We'll see you next week.